Discovered, a 9-year-old in crisis reveals an incredible request that changed everything. In a struggling suburban neighborhood in Ohio, 9-year-old Danny stared out his window, feeling as if the weight of the world rested on his small shoulders. He watched his father, once the proud, strong figure of the household, sit despondently on the porch. Jobless and grappling with despair, his father had become a shadow of his former self, a stark contrast to the man who spun tales of resilience and hard work. Those stories resonated deep within Danny's heart, etched into his memory like ink on paper, igniting a flicker of hope within him. But now? Now, it was a battle against darkness and hopelessness. Inspired, Danny decided he could no longer be a passive observer in his family's decline. He approached the local community center, a modest and slightly weathered building that stood as a beacon for many families struggling like his. What if we all shared our stories? He mused to himself, eager to light the spark of hope in others. He envisioned a story night, where neighbors could come together, unravel their struggles, and weave the fabric of their lives into something beautiful, something shared. However, as he spoke to the adults, many responded with skepticism. What good will that do? One neighbor grumbled, arms crossed in defiance. Danny felt the sting of rejection sear through him as they swept his idea aside, entrenched in their own burdens. Yet, amidst the murmurs of doubt, a steadfast resolve began to bloom in his heart. He was determined to gather his community. They needed hope. The days flew by, and as the date drew near, excitement intertwined with a gnawing fear. Would anyone come? Would they trust each other enough to share their painful truths? The night of the event arrived, and Danny stood at the front of the community center, his heart racing like a runaway train. The room initially seemed to envelop him in an eerie silence, the bare walls radiating despair. Just when he thought he might be stripped of his courage, familiar faces began trickling in, cautiously at first, then with more confidence. Tears flowed as stories unfolded. A father lost his job, a mother battled illness, a child recounted the loneliness of their fading childhood. Each tale was like a brushstroke in a massive mural of emotion, a vivid tapestry of communal struggle. The once polarized crowd began to dissolve into a united front, bound by their shared pain and hope. Laughter emerged between sobs, and each voice contributed to the rising collective strength. But then, just as connection blossomed, the door swung open, and a powerful figure entered. Mr. Jenkins, the factory owner. His disdain dripped from his lips as he declared, "This is nonsense. You're wasting your time." The energy in the room shifted, tension coiling like a snake ready to strike. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Danny felt a wave of heat rise to his cheeks as he stepped forward, heart pounding like a drum. With a tremor in his voice, he recounted his father's stories of hard work and community, the very ideals Mr. Jenkins had forgotten. The crowd leaned in, shocked yet inspired, and for a heartbeat, hope flickered in their eyes. Could a 9-year-old's courage be enough to make a change? As anticipation crackled in the air, all eyes turned toward Danny, waiting to see if he could truly ignite the spark of unity in a world burdened by walls and rejection. What would happen next? Danny looked up, his heart racing as he held the audience's gaze. In that moment, he felt every eye on him, the weight of their hope resting squarely on his little shoulders. "Mr. Jenkins," he said, voice steadying like a river finding its flow, "these stories, they matter. We matter." The words echoed in the still air, and for half a breath, there was silence as he allowed the meaning to settle. The crowd, tense moments earlier, seemed to lean towards him, drawn in like moths to a flame. Would they latch onto their shared struggle and find strength, or would doubt snuff out the flame before it could even ignite? Mr. Jenkins scoffed, disbelief curling his lip. "You think sharing stories will solve anything?" His eyes scanned the room, challenging anyone to agree. The corners of his mouth tugged downwards in a straight line, like he was physically pushing away the warmth Danny tried to create, but behind Danny, As he turned slightly, he saw Mrs. Rodriguez, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears, and listened as she whispered, "He has got a point, you know." The gentle support from that one voice flickered like a candle against the storm. "Yeah," shouted Tommy, a boy from school who had always kept to himself. "People need to hear us. My mom used to tell stories about how we got through tough times. It helped us survive." The murmur of agreement spread like wildflowers sprouting from cracks in concrete. "Let us keep going," Danny said, summoning every ounce of courage he could muster. In the face of defiance, he felt his conviction strengthen. These stories say we're not alone. They show we can fight together. Just listen to each other. The atmosphere crackled with electricity as Danny gestured toward an elderly man in the corner, Mr. Grayson, who had seen more struggles than anyone could fathom. "Mr. Grayson, would you like to share your story?" There was a moment of silence before Mr. Grayson rose slowly. "I've lost more than I've had," he began, his voice gravelly but warm. "But we've kept hoping. I remember nights where we just sat together, talking about our fears. It brought us closer. This," he waved a hand in front of him, "this was our lifeboat." As he spoke, Danny could feel the energy shift. The tension that had been woven through the fabric of the room began to dissolve. Each story became a thread, interlocking their lives like a tapestry of shared experience. It was messy, raw, and beautiful. Then someone shouted from the back, "What if we don't just share stories? What if we take actions too?" A ripple of anticipation danced through the crowd, and hope brightened their faces. It was as if Danny had pulled the curtain back on something great. "Yes!" Danny shouted, excitement bubbling over. "What if we helped one another? We could share resources, feed the hungry, even start a little garden in the park." The people responded with murmurs of agreement, eyes wide with inspiration. Mr. Jenkins shifted uncomfortably, the walls he had built around himself beginning to show cracks. "You really believe you can change things?" He scoffed again, but his voice trembled. Danny stepped forward, heart racing faster than before. "I do. We can't change everything overnight, but together, we can take little steps. And little steps matter." As whispers of hope and determination spread through the room, he noticed a change in Mr. Jenkins' expression. It was almost hesitant. Was it possible that Mr. Jenkins might reconsider his stance? Could he find the courage to step into this renewed spirit? But before anyone could answer, the lights flickered, and suddenly, they all heard howls of sirens approaching, drowning out the atmosphere of possibility. Danny's pulse quickened as fear licked at the edges of the newfound hope. What was happening outside? Would the sirens drown out their voices, their stories, their fight for change? Nervous murmurs rippled across the crowd, eyes darting toward the door, fear creeping back in. Danny felt a chill run through the air, the warmth of connection teetering on the brink of collapse. Would their moment of unity survive this unexpected interruption? As the sirens grew louder, he knew they needed to decide in that very moment. Would they face this new challenge as a community or let fear silence them again? With a deep breath, he looked out at the sea of faces and prepared to stand strong. What would that courage look like? Would they find a way through this together? Danny's breath caught in his throat as the sirens blared outside, their wailing echoed through the walls like a warning. He could feel the tension in the room, thick as fog. It curled around people's shoulders, tightening them in apprehension. Little by little, he saw flashes of fear in the crowd's eyes, fears he recognized all too well. Mrs. Rodriguez squeezed his hand from behind. It was small, warm, but it held more force than he expected. "We're with you, Danny," she whispered, her voice barely above the noise. "Whatever happens, we'll stay together." "Stay together," he repeated, letting the words fill him like air into a balloon. He turned back to Mr. Jenkins, who still looked skeptical, though there was a hint of curiosity now. "We can't let fear control us. If we unite, we can be stronger than any problem that comes our way." Another voice, this one from a girl in the front holding a baby doll close, was unwavering. "My sister used to say that being brave was about helping others. We all need someone to stand up for us." Danny nodded, heart racing. He could feel the energy morphing, it wasn't just about sharing stories anymore. They were on the precipice of something much bigger, something raw and real. Slowly, he turned to grasp the microphone. Let us be brave. Let us be brave together. Just then, the sirens rounded the corner and grew quieter, and with it, a suspenseful silence blanketed the room. Danny could sense the audience leaning in closer, as if he were a tightrope walker on a high line, and they were all holding their breath, waiting for him to take the next step. Just think about it, when was the last time we truly acted? He implored. When did we ever step forward and say we'll fight for what's right together? The world might be full of chaos, but if we band together, we can make noise louder than those sirens. We can give a voice to the stories that matter. The crowd began to lean toward him a little more, tension shifting into something else: hope. Small murmurs erupted like whispers in the wind, conversations blossoming around the room. Ideas began to take form like shapes in fog, people nodding in agreement. Let us organize, shouted Tommy again, each word bursting with energy. We can have a meeting to discuss what we can do together. Business owners can pitch in, neighbors can support each other. If we all put our strengths together, we can brighten this neighborhood. Danny felt a wave of exhilaration wash over him. This was not just an idea anymore, it was becoming real. He could see sparks of enthusiasm igniting in the faces around him. Eyes lit up, hands began to raise, volunteers floated into the air like dandelion seeds caught in a breeze. Damar Jenkins stood silent, still flanked by his doubt. But even he couldn't ignore the palpable change, couldn't deny the tremor of possibility unfolding in the air. Then, just as it seemed that momentum could carry them forward, the lights blinked violently again. Then, a louder crash rattled the building. Something heavy had hit the floor. Gasps and shouts erupted in shock. Stay calm, Danny shouted, trying to pull them back together even as another crash echoed outside. Fear surged again, but this time it felt like a wave crashing against another force, his heart beating fiercely against it. Could this be the moment that tested everything they had stirred within them? Would they allow fear to push them apart once more? He glanced at Mrs. Rodriguez, who nodded at him once more, her eyes fierce with protection. Danny, she urged. Whatever happens next, we're in this together. Would everyone remember to unite, not just in words but in action? The sirens blared, and chaos continued, but Danny was ready. They needed to brace for whatever was coming next. Would they rise to this challenge too? The silence broke like glass. The loud crash outside echoed through the walls, the sound almost a living thing that thrummed in their chests. Danny's heart raced. An unsteady breath escaped his lips as panic rippled through the crowd. He could see faces turning pale, eyes widening, each person wrestling with their own fears. Stay calm, please. Danny's voice shook at the edges, but he stood firm, gripping the microphone tighter. We can't let this moment define us. We're stronger than this. Tommy stepped forward, heart pounding and eyes glimmering. What if we check it out together? He felt the pull of adrenaline, the need to do something, anything. Danny swallowed hard, looking at the room full of hesitant faces. The question hung in the air like a delicate thread, a tether between dread and determination. That could be really dangerous, but if we stay together, we can do it. His voice steadied. Trust each other. Like we said, Mrs. Rodriguez chimed in, we're in this together. Voices of agreement began to ripple. One person moved forward, then another, and soon, a small group was forming a brave assemblage ready to face the unknown. Hope surged around the room, igniting the air, making it almost electric. Okay, let us see what's out there, Danny said, a tingle of excitement chasing away the fear. But we'll stick together, one step at a time. They gathered near the exit, a small army of anxious faces staring into the darkness outside. The sirens had quieted, replaced by the distant murmur of voices, the occasional crash still reverberating through the alleyways. Danny looked around and realized just how far they'd come. This was more than just a group now, it was a family formed from shared fears and hopes. On the count of 3 he began, locking eyes with each person. We step outside, together. 1, 2, 3. With a rush, they moved as one, crossing the threshold into the dim light of the street. The world outside felt different, threatened, yet oddly electric with possibility. There they stood, a small united front against the uncertainty. They stepped cautiously toward the source of the noise, hearts thudding in unison. Just as they rounded a corner, a flicker of movement caught Danny's eye. A small figure knelt beside a toppled garbage can, rummaging through the debris. "What is going on?" asked Tommy, squinting into the shadows. As they moved closer, Danny recognized the figure, an old friend from the neighborhood, a girl named Mia. "Mia," he called, relief washing over him. Mia looked up, her expression a mix of embarrassment and urgency. I just wanted to find my cat," she exclaimed, the panic in her voice rising. "She ran off when the siren started. I think she might be around here." Hope battled with concern within the group. The moment seemed fragile, the consequences of their actions looming large. Danny felt a stirring in his heart, memories of his own feline friend flashing through his mind. They were on the cusp of something important. This act of searching for Mia's cat could become a rallying point for their cause. "Mia," he said softly, "will help you find her. Together." But the limitations of their courage were mere whispers in the shadow of Mia's desperation. A faint cry echoed somewhere nearby, and with it came an opportunity for their unity to take shape. How far would they go? What would they challenge to help one another? He took a breath and stepped forward, whispering, "Let us find her. This is our moment." As a unit, they advanced cautiously, hearts racing, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But what awaited them around the corner could change everything, for better or worse. Would they be able to rally once more, turning small moments of courage into a monumental shift? Or would they falter under the weight of their fears? The group pressed forward, the dim streetlights creating eerie shadows that danced along the pavement. Each step felt heavier, laden with the weight of expectation and fear. Danny glanced at Mia, determination etched into her brow, and he couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. They had embarked on this journey for her sake, but perhaps it was their own strength they were about to uncover. "Over there." Mia suddenly pointed, her voice barely above a whisper but laced with urgency. A soft mew echoed from behind a nearby bush. The sound tugged at Danny's heart, resonating with something deeper. It pulled them all closer, igniting their purpose once more. As they navigated through the debris, the world around them faded away. This felt pivotal. It was no longer just about a lost cat, but about the bonds they were forming and the courage they were finding in each other. The reality of their town's chaos was a distant memory. Right now, they were a team. "Can you see her?" Danny asked, crouching low beside Mia, who was practically vibrating with anticipation. He could feel her hope, like a spark waiting to ignite. "I think she is scared. I have to call her," she replied, her eyes narrowing in concentration. "Luna. Come here, girl." Danny watched as Mia's face transformed. Her fear and desperation momentarily shifted into pure love, her voice breaking through the tension in the air. The small girl's spirit was infectious, drawing the rest of the group into her cause. They had all felt fear tonight, but right now, they felt the thrill of purpose. Suddenly, an orange blur sprang out of the bush, small, fuzzy, and full of life. "Luna!" Mia squealed, nearly diving forward. The cat paused, surveyed the scene, and then pounced into Mia's arms, nuzzling into her embrace. Relief washed over them like a tidal wave, but just as joy began to settle, their moment was shattered as the sound of distant sirens wailed back to life, cutting through the quiet like knife. They all froze, caught between celebration and dread. Danny's heart sank, the weight of reality crashing back in. Why was the chaos returning? "Mia, we should go back," Tommy said quietly, his face paling. The unity they had just forged felt threatened, the bond fragile under the tide of uncertainty. "We don't know what's happening out there." "No!" Mia exclaimed, clutching Luna tightly. "Please, don't leave yet. We can't just abandon this." Her voice was small but echoing with a confidence that surprised even Danny. The cat nestled in her arms seemed to be anchoring her, giving her the strength she needed to hold on to her newfound bravery. Danny felt the pull of Mia's resolve. She's right. We can't walk away now. If we're going to face the unknown, we'll do it together. We owe it to Mia and each other. Tommy swallowed hard but nodded, seemingly swayed by the overwhelming emotions swirling in the air. All right, but we need a plan. We can't let fear dictate our next move. We're a team. They stood there, united again, as if the chaos outside melted away for a brief moment. The sirens howled in the distance, a reminder of the dangers that loomed, but so too was there the promise of community, of resilience. Let us move, Danny said, feeling a flicker of defiance igniting. We'll figure this out as we go. One step at a time. And just as they started to make their way back, the ground shook beneath them, a low rumble that roared, sending shivers through the group. What was that? Tommy's voice was barely more than a whisper now, eyes wide with fear. Danny felt a knot tighten in his stomach. They weren't just searching for a cat anymore. Something deeper was happening, something that could change everything. With shared glances, all held the same question in their hearts: what awaited them in the darkness? Every step felt like a leap into the unknown, as they prepared to face whatever lay ahead, knowing their unity could be their greatest strength or their greatest vulnerability. The tremors subsided just as quickly as they had come, leaving an eerie silence that thickened the air around them. The weight of uncertainty hung heavily, each of them listening for what might come next. Danny took a step forward, leading the way. Let us keep moving, he urged, though his heart was racing. Every shadow, every shift of the wind sent little jolts of fear through him. Mia clutched Luna closer. What if there's something bad happening? What if her voice trembled slightly, revealing the worry that was creeping back in? It's okay, Danny reassured her, glancing back to meet her eyes, which were wide with concern. We'll get through this. We're together. He wanted to promise her that everything would be all right, but he hesitated, unsure of the truth behind his words. Tommy caught up with them, his face lighting up with an idea. We could find shelter. There's that old community center down the block. Maybe it's safer there. He spoke with a hint of hope, the suggestion hanging out there like a fragile balloon. Good idea, Danny replied, knowing they needed a plan. Let us check it out. As they made their way, the shadows from the trees loomed larger, almost personifying the tension that was building inside them. The closer they got, the more the sirens seemed to rise and fall in an unsettling symphony. Mia stopped suddenly, her small figure rooted to the spot. What if we find people in there? What if they need our help? Danny felt a surge of admiration for her bravery. That's exactly why we need to go. If there's chaos, we can be the ones who help. They pushed open the creaky doors of the center, the scent of stale air hitting them. The dimness inside mirrored the confusion outside. They scanned the room, half expecting a crowd. Instead, it was empty, a hushed silence wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. Suddenly, a muffled cry echoed from one of the back rooms. It was soft yet urgent. Their hearts raced as they hurried down the corridor, following the sound. Mia led, her tiny frame darting ahead. Hello? Is anyone there? She called out, her voice quivering between the joyous hope and the fear of the unknown. They reached the door, and Tommy pushed it open slowly, fear creeping into his veins. The sight that greeted them made their blood run cold. A young boy, maybe only a few years older than Mia, sat on the floor. His face was streaked with dirt, and his eyes were wide with something akin to despair. He looked lost. Are you okay? Mia asked, the tremor in her voice replaced by genuine concern. She knelt beside him, almost instinctively knowing what he needed: someone to care. Not really, the boy replied, his voice cracking. They took everyone. Everyone's gone. His words weighed down every heart in the room, and for a brief moment, the laughter and joy they had fought for seemed like a distant memory. What do you mean? Danny asked cautiously. There was a group. They came. The sirens. They told everyone to leave but not me. The boy's eyes darted around the room as if looking for refuge that wasn't either. Danny felt a rush of anger and fear surge within him. "We can help you," he promised. "We'll figure this out together." But as the boy looked into Danny's eyes, pleading for hope, Danny couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was only the beginning. What did took everyone really mean? Their lives had intertwined in ways they never expected. And now, with the threat of something greater looming, they faced an unthinkable choice: to prioritize their own safety or to step boldly into the chaos, in search of answers and perhaps a way to save the others. As they exchanged glances, determination coiling within them, the boy whispered one last thing that sent chills down Danny's spine. "You have to hurry." They'll come back. What did that even mean? Who were they? The questions hung in the air like uninvited guests. And as they prepared to step once more into the unknown, a new fear gnawed at them. Were they strong enough for what lay ahead? Would they be able to protect not just themselves, but those they were yet to meet? With hearts racing and their resolve firm, they knew the journey was just beginning. Danny felt the weight of the boy's words sink in. They'll come back. It echoed in the back of his mind like a haunting refrain. Who will come back? Mia pressed, her small hands trembling slightly as she leaned closer to the boy. The urgency in the air began to stir doubts they couldn't afford to entertain now, not when there was a chance to help. "I saw them," the boy said, voice trembling as he peered toward the doorway. "They had uniforms. They said they were here to keep us safe," but he shivered, the fear spilling out in a choked gasp. "They didn't want me. They told me to stay, but I heard them take the others." Tommy looked to Danny. "We can't just sit here. If we leave him, what will happen?" His voice was firm, but an undercurrent of uncertainty ran through it. "We were planning to find shelter," Danny said, trying to weigh their next steps. The looming dread in the boy's eyes was a visible reminder of their reality. "But if there's something dangerous out there exactly?" Mia interjected, her voice rising. "We can't leave him. What if it was me?" Her wide, pleading gaze turned to the boy, then back to Danny. "We have to help. We can't let fear stop us." Danny's heart sank deeper as he processed Mia's words. The boy was just like her, vulnerable, scared, and in need of a family when there was none. He hadn't asked for this, but here they all were caught in the middle of something bigger. "Okay," Danny finally said, the resolve bundling up inside him like a tide. "We'll stay together. We'll figure out what to do next. But first, let us find a safer place in this building, a room with a door that locks maybe." "Yeah, somewhere we can think," Tommy said, eyes darting around the old community center as if searching for solutions among the worn walls and peeling paint. As they ventured further into the building, the fear echoed in the empty halls. Each step felt like a countdown, ticking louder in the silence. They finally found a small office room with barred windows and a sturdy door. It was far from perfect, but it would have to do. Shuffling in, they huddled close. The boy introduced himself as Ethan, his petite frame barely able to fill the old chair he sat on. As he looked around at Mia and the boys, the heaviness in his eyes began to shift slightly. "I didn't know if I'd ever see anyone again," he whispered, gratitude lacing his words. "We're not going anywhere," Mia said, her voice steady, igniting a small spark of hope within them, but as they sat in that room, Danny felt a storm brewing within him. The talk of uniforms and captives haunted him as much as the boy's words. He had to know more about the they Ethan referred to, the ones who instilled fear without ever being seen. What if they come back? Can we fight them? Tommy broke the silence. The budding question hung there, pregnant with implications. Ethan's eyes widened, clearly distressed. Fighting won't do any good. They're too many and too strong. He swallowed hard, looking down at his hands. Danny felt the panic rise again. They were kids, lost in a world that didn't care. Then, courage surged through him. We might not fight, but we can protect each other. We can find a way. He turned to the others, locking eyes with Mia, Tommy, and now Ethan. But we need a plan, and we need to know what we're up against. With a shared sense of purpose brewing between them, the four of them leaned in, voices low, hearts beating fast. They needed information, and they needed it fast. Suddenly, the faint sound of footsteps echoed from outside the door, sending a jolt through Danny's already racing heart. Were they about to face their worst fears? "Get ready," he whispered, the room holding its breath. Would the next moment reveal allies or enemies? A discovery that would either shatter them or prepare them for the battle ahead? The footsteps grew louder, a relentless rhythm that matched Danny's racing heart. A knot formed in his stomach as he glanced at the others. Mia's face was pale, eyes wide in shock. Tommy's jaw set in determination, but he couldn't hide the tremor in his hands. Ethan, seated between them, looked as if he might bolt at any second. "Stay quiet," Danny urged, lowering his voice even further. He knocked on the door with anxious fingers, trying to think of what to say. Maybe it's just someone passing by, they all knew better. Then a shadow loomed just outside the barred window, shifting as a figure approached, and Danny's breathing shallow. The doorknob rattled, and the bolt holding it fast trembled under pressure. Were they about to face something more sinister than their imaginations had conjured? "Who's there?" Danny called, hoping against hope it was just a stray survivor. The silence stretched, thick with tension, hanging between them like a curtain ready to fall. The door swung open suddenly, just as Danny's pulse hit a frenetic pace. A man stepped in, tall and menacing, dressed in dark attire that looked all too familiar to Ethan. The uniform. Danny instinctively moved in front of Mia and Tommy, his body tensing, ready to protect them at any cost. "Get back!" he shouted, unsure if words alone could intimidate the intruder. "Wait!" The man held up his hands, eyes flickering with recognition as he glanced at Ethan. "I'm not here to hurt you." "Then why are you here?" Ethan squeaked, his voice breaking, clinging onto the edge of fear. "I'm looking for you," the man said, a strange mix of urgency and relief painted across his face. Mia's brow furrowed in confusion. "Looking for him? Why would you care?" "Listen, I know what they told you," the man said, the words rushing out with breathless urgency. "You have to understand, they are dangerous, but I can help you. You are not safe here, not with them coming back." "What do you mean?" Danny interjected, feeling an icy grip on his heart. "Who are they?" "The ones in uniforms," the man replied, a shadow crossing his features. "They're taking kids, trying to build their army. I'm not one of them," he insisted, an edge of desperation creeping into his voice. "But they will come back for Ethan. I need to take him away now." Ethan's face fell, dread etched across his young features. "But I don't want to go with you. They hurt the others." The man took a step closer, kneeling slightly to match Ethan's height, his eyes softening. "I know it's scary, but I promise, I won't let anything happen to you. You just have to trust me." Tommy looked at Danny, and Danny felt the weight of the moment crash in on him. Trust was a fragile thing, especially now. Could they really believe a stranger, especially someone who wore the same uniforms they feared? But in Ethan's face, he saw the depth of desperation and the yearning for safety. "Please, we have to decide quickly," the man pressed, glancing nervously over his shoulder. They could show up any minute. Danny felt every fiber of his being pulling him in different directions. They were just kids, scared and alone, and making a choice like this felt monumental. Would following this man be a step towards safety, or would it be a path leading them into the heart of danger? "No." The steadiness in Mia's voice surprised him. "We're not leaving Ethan behind. We're all in this together." The man's frustration flared, but Danny could sense the hint of a plea, dug deep behind his firm stance. The core of unity shifted in the air, binding them as one. "We need a plan," Danny finally said, voice firm, bolstered by Mia's resolve. "We can't rush into this. There has to be a way to protect each other." The man opened his mouth to argue, but as the sound of footsteps echoed once more in the hall, he paused, eyeing the door. "You don't have much time." A decision hung in the air, heavy and clouded with uncertainty. Would they trust the man, or fight their way through a world intent on tearing them apart? Each heartbeat felt like a countdown. As they stood on the brink of a choice that could change everything, one thought pierced through: what would they sacrifice to keep their fragile family close? The door rattled again, and the moment stretched, pulling taut with potential disaster. Would they act, or would hesitation seal their fate? The tension in the room thickened as the footsteps faded momentarily, but the threat lingered in the air like smoke. Danny tightened his grip on Mia's arm, their shared fear grounding him while he glanced back at the stranger. What do we do? Ethan's voice wavered, breaking the silence. There was panic swirling in his young eyes. The man hesitated, his gaze darting toward the door like a trapped animal. We need somewhere safe to go. If they find you here, it'll be over. Trust me, I can protect you. But what did trust even mean now? Danny felt torn. Part of him wanted to scream, to cry out for the adults who never showed up to protect them. But they were alone. Just 4 kids forced to navigate a nightmare none of them could understand. Mia, what do you think? Danny whispered, glancing at her. Her brow furrowed, deep in thought. What if he's right? Right or wrong, we can't just leave without a plan, Tommy interjected, his voice steady, surprising no one more than himself. Running away isn't enough. We need to understand what we're facing. Before Danny could respond, the door rattled again, this time with a violence that sent a shiver down his spine. He stepped backward, putting himself further in front of the others. We can't stand here like sitting ducks. The man's expression turned grave. We have to move, now. If they find you, but just as he finished his sentence, the door burst open. 4 more figures clad in those dark uniforms flooded in, all armored and poised. The man's warning turned to a shout, run. Instinct kicked in. Danny's legs turned to lead, but adrenaline surged, propelling him into motion as he grabbed Mia's hand and yanked her forward. They barreled past the intruder, who stood rooted in place, a barrier between the group and danger. Tommy grasped Ethan's arm, his face twisted in resolve. This way. They dashed down the ragged corridor, voices echoing off damp walls, breath escaping in hasty bursts. Danny could feel his heart thumping in his chest, a relentless drumbeat urging him on. Behind them, the angry shouts of the intruders pierced the air. They stumbled into a room, a dismal storage space littered with rusty tools and forgotten supplies. Quickly, Danny shoved a metal shelf against the door as a last line of defense while the others glanced around, panic dancing in their eyes. He's going to get caught. Mia shouted, her voice cracking. We can't just leave him. Do you want to end up like the others? Danny shot back, frustration clouding his judgment. We have to think. We can't save him if we get caught. Tommy nodded, his breath visible in the cold air. Where do we go? There has to be another way out. Maybe through the back? Ethan suggested, fear spilling over into desperation. If we can get to the old subway tunnel, let us do it. Danny replied, the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders. Stay close together. Just then, something crashed against the door, the shelf bowing inward. Fear swamped Danny, and he glanced at Ethan, who now looked positively terrified. Can we trust him? Ethan whispered, his childish voice echoing with uncertainty. I don't know, Danny admitted reluctantly. But we have to hope for the best. We can't abandon anyone. We are all we have. As the shelf creaked under the force, Danny felt a fresh wave of urgency wash over him. This moment felt perilous, the balance shaky not just for Ethan and their makeshift family, but for the world outside that seemed determined to tear them apart. But as their escape plan began to take shape, Danny wondered, clarity or chaos? What awaited them at the end of this dark corridor? Just outside the door, the world pulsed with imminent danger, and somewhere in that chaos lay the answer to their survival. Would they find it in unity or in the decision that would inevitably change their lives forever? The clang of metal against metal echoed in the cramped storage room, sending a tremor of fear racing through Danny's veins. They had only seconds. The intruders were relentless, forcing their way through. This way. He shouted, leading the group toward the darkened corner of the room where a narrow passageway loomed, hidden behind a pile of junk. Mia's grip on Danny's hand was firm, her eyes wide with panic. "Are you sure?" she whispered, glancing back, but Danny could only nod. There was no time to waste, they had to trust each other, or they all might end up lost just like the others. Tommy marched ahead, eyes filled with determination, pulling Ethan along. "Stick together. Stay quiet," Danny urged, as they squeezed into the tunnel, the shadows enveloping them like a heavy cloak. It smelled of damp earth and old memories, a world that promised escape if only they could find the right path. Once inside, the group pressed forward, slipping past crumbling walls and broken beams that creaked underfoot. It felt like they were walking backwards through time. Would they find their way out, or would the darkness swallow them whole? As they moved deeper into the tunnel, the distant sounds of chaos began to fade. Their breaths became the only noise, mingling in the tense air. "How far do you think it goes?" Ethan's voice quivered, mixing anxiety with curiosity. "Far enough," Danny responded, determination coursing through him. "Let us just keep going." Suddenly, Mia stopped, straining to listen. "Do you hear that?" she asked. The others paused, whispers of movement ahead catching their attention like a flickering candle in the dark. Tommy's brow furrowed. "It sounds like voices." Danny felt his heart race again. "We can't just walk into a trap." But before he could finish, Mia pulled him closer. "What if it's other people? Maybe they need help too." He halted, facing the way forward. "Okay, but we stay cautious." They crept forward, the voices growing louder as they approached a slant in the tunnel. Peeking around the corner, they saw a small group of kids, all huddled together, their faces a mixture of fear and hope. "Hey! Over here!" Danny called softly, drawing their attention. The kids turned, relief washing over their faces. "You're alive!" one girl exclaimed, running toward them. "We thought we were the only ones left." Danny felt the weight of their shared truth crash down on him. "We're looking for a way out. Is there a safe place nearby?" The girl nodded vigorously. "This way. We have a hiding spot." With renewed energy, Danny led his group into the makeshift sanctuary, a cramped yet seemingly safe room within the tunnels. As they settled in, breath slowing and hope flickering, he caught Ethan's eye. "Are you okay?" Ethan nodded, but the expression on his face was still clouded with uncertainty. The weight of decisions and fears nestled deep within them all. "We'll figure this out," Danny assured him. "Together." As the kids from the new group shared their stories, a sense of solidarity began to form. Each tale wove them closer, hearts connecting through shared experiences and aspirations, a web of resilience in the chaos. But away from the din, Danny couldn't shake the worry gnawing at him. The darker part of the unknown was still out there, hungry for their hope. "We need to plan," he spoke, drawing their attention back. "If those people in uniforms come back, we need to be ready." But as those words settled, the urgency of the sirens suddenly echoed down the tunnel, louder and more menacing than before, and a shiver coursed through the group. "They're coming," a boy whispered, panic rising. "Calm down. We stick together," Danny barked, rallying everyone back to focus. "Stay low. We'll move when it's clear." Just then, the door they had secretly slipped past creaked open. A figure peered through the darkness. The tension was palpable as the entrance filled with a silhouette. Danny's heart pounded. "Is it them?" A whisper floated through the crowd, fear creeping into every heart. But then Danny? The voice shattered the heavy air, and Danny felt his breath catch. It was familiar, filled with warmth. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face he hadn't seen in too long. His father. Stunned silence filled the room. "Dad?" Danny stepped forward, incredulous. "Is it really you?" "Danny. I've been looking everywhere for you," his dad replied, rushing toward him. Time seemed to slow down as Danny sank into his father's embrace, their fears melting away in that moment of overwhelming connection. "I thought we lost you," Danny murmured, warm relief flooding through his chest, tears stinging his eyes. Not a chance, his dad said, pulling back, determination shining in his gaze. I'm here now, and we'll get through this together. The tension in the room shifted. This wasn't just a hope born from stories anymore. It was action, heart, and the desire to rise up. Dad, there are others, Danny led him to the huddled group. We're all together fighting this. His father's eyes softened as he scanned the gathering of kids' families formed among strangers. Then let us fight together. If they come for one of us, they come for all. He turned to the group, a charge of unwavering strength flowing through him. We'll get to safety. We'll get out of here. But we have to stay united. As they began to strategize, Danny felt a swell of hope ignite within him. They could face the darkness together, they could reclaim their world piece by piece. The sirens potentially still howling outside faded into a distant memory as they bonded as one unbreakable unit. They shared laughter, fears, and visions of what lay ahead. No longer just children lost in fear but brave warriors holding firm against the tide. As they prepared to take action, they not only had hope, they had each other to lean on. They understood now that every story mattered, every voice, a chorus in a melody of resilience, and as they stepped from that hiding place into the uncertain night, they weren't just searching for safety. They were building a community, forging a future where all could belong. No matter how perilous the journey ahead, they knew they could face it, for they had ignited a spark deep within. Danny's heart swelled with newfound courage, ready to challenge whatever world awaited them. In this moment, they were more than children caught in chaos. They were a family powerful, united, and unwavering, and that was all it took to brave the unknown. If you found inspiration in this story, you need to subscribe now to join us for more exclusive tales of courage and resilience. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let this transformation be seen by others. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of hope and unity. Let us spread the message together. We are stronger.